Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, Click OK, Eli, One Deck, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Let's get it on!
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I've had high praise over the last 2-3 days for the shows that have gone out. Now, I don't really understand that when I'm under the most stress and pressure and most irritated and agitated, people give me the highest of praise. Now, it could just be because I'm not swearing that I'll get high praise, and generally that's my demeanour, or people perceive it to be my general demeanour. But like I say, the last definitely 2, but possibly 3 shows came with high praise from various different...
Yeah, because you've been on point.
Eli.
Oh,
Eli.
yeah.
You're off mute, groaning into my live show. What do you mean, yep? So, I don't know, I was asked just in the
last few channels, Nathan, I was going to tell you that.
I was asked in the pre-show, do I have a video to cover today? And I'm like, well, actually, no. Just based on the high praise that the last few shows have got, I'm more than happy to just continue chit-chatting throughout the live show and see how it goes. So, no, there isn't any videos prepared to do today, but you know, chit-chatting is what it's all about. Chit-chatting about housekeeping has been the main focus of the beginning of the last 2 shows. I can't recall if we covered every single housekeeping question.
Nathan, sorry, Nathan.
One more time.
I think that's what it is. I think the last few shows we've just been having a little bit of a chit chat. Sometimes I felt bad a few weeks ago putting some videos up with the idiots, won't mention the names, and you know you get winds you up, and you just start shouting, and it's just all. Sometimes it's just nice to. It's good to talk sometimes. Just have a bit of a chat, talk about how Earth's measured flat, and go over a few points, and whatever else comes up.
Well, I like doing that because, and I've said this in the last few shows as well, that's the least stressful bit of my general day. That is to say, throughout the day, there's going to be people, events, things that happen. Sales of microphones as a perfect example, that I don't necessarily enjoy doing, but will do because needs must. But the flat earth aspect of what I do isn't particularly stressful. Now, obviously, there's going to be people who make that stressful because it's stressful for them and they want to project their pain onto me. But in terms of the arguments for a flat earth, it's the same routine in 2025 for every single approach from an opponent to this subject. That is to say, they will approach me with a flat earth prerequisite and ask me how it works. In response, I provide them with the need they have for their flat earth prerequisite measurement and then say that's my job done. I don't need to do anything else. If the debate that you think exists is about whether or not Earth is flat or a globe, then at the point that you measure Earth flat and require it to be so as a prerequisite, then there's no argument anymore. I'm done. I don't have to do anything further. Well, that's generally speaking how every interaction with the subject that's the main focus of flat Earth debate is. So that's the bit I like talking about.
No, you got to talk about how Earth is not a globe, Nathan.
No, I don't.
What's wrong with you?
My opponent can come and tell me how something they perceive to work as a globe prerequisite actually requires a flat Earth measurement. And again, that's the end of it. I don't have to explain how Earth's not a sphere after acknowledging, or not acknowledging to be more accurate, things like linear distances that are flat. If you're going to give me a mile or kilometre distance to some object in the distance, then you're going to need a flat Earth to measure it horizontally in a linear fashion. Well, that's it. You've measured the Earth flat for the distance. Do I need to explain it? No, I don't. What about if you take that distance and then ask me about how, if I measure my height off a flat plane perpendicular to it with a parallel eye level to the surface level, then at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet in a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, there's a distance to geometric horizon below the surface level we measured for horizontal linear distance and perpendicular height above it. You're going to need perpendicular height above it off a flat plane and a horizontal linear distance to ask me about why you perceive there to be a blockage in the distance. I don't need to answer anything in regards to your blockage. You measure Earth flat and require it to be that way to ask me this question. That's the end of the discussion.
Eli, if one of your girlfriends was there listening, would she have any understanding of what was just transpired?
I'm sorry, I was literally helping my girlfriend find her phone. I have no idea what y'all talking about.
Well, Nathan was going through his diatribe of how Earth is measured flat. Now, if your girl was listening,
Well, let
would
me
she be able to
put my
make any
phone on
sense?
speaker.
But his girlfriend's not going to be the
Perhaps
person I'm
you can say it
exampling.
again.
Sorry, Eli, go ahead.
But I said I put my phone on speaker so my girl can hear. You want to repeat it?
Yeah, repeat it.
Sure. If you measure some miles, they're flat. Miles are flat, kilometres are flat. Like the scale on a map. Is that something that's complicated to understand?
Like miles are flat, kilometers are flat. What on the scale is flat? Is that complicated?
The scale itself is flat. Like on a map. If you look at a map and its scale, it's giving you a linear flat scale for the miles measured across the map. So when you describe something in the distance, you describe it with flat, linear, horizontal distances like the map provides with a scale for the horizontal, flat, linear distance measurement. Anyway, regardless of whether or not Eli's girlfriends, plural or singular, I don't know, probably plural, understand this is irrelevant. When somebody puts it to me that there's an object at X distance, and if I assume Earth is a sphere and ignore said horizontal distance and measure my height off surface level for a parallel eye level that will be ran through mathematics that is put to me regularly by bull-believing numpties, then they will understand that they are asserting a distance to geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off surface level. Those are the facts in the Earth curve mathematics. It requires horizontal planar distance measurement and perpendicular height measurement. Flat Earth prerequisites both of them. That's it. That's the end of my job. Now, whether or not someone can understand that when I summarise it in a what Neil rudely just described as a diatribe is irrelevant. My opponent, if they're putting a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve claim to me, do and will and must understand what they are putting to me when they quote a distance. I'm saying I just look for the flat Earth prerequisite in what is put to me and point out that you'll need a flat Earth for that prerequisite distance measurement or height off surface level. Not expecting random Joe to understand. Or random,
and
random
I
Susan.
get that, right? Because I'm here every day. I understand everything you say. But I'm wondering, is the layman that pops in going to understand it?
When I say the scale on the map is flat, the distance is linear and flat and horizontal, like on your map and like with your scale, you either understand how frigging map works or you don't. Now, if you don't, then that's not my problem. If a layman does not understand how a map works, okay, then laymen don't understand how maps work. They can't look at a flat map and see a scale on it. Okay, well, that makes them a bonehead as opposed to a layman, in my opinion, but that's just me.
Thinking of what Neil means, I mean, we said this last week when we've been over a few videos, when they explain how, when things are measured from the centre of the Earth, and explain that it's all done inside the ball, to get the elevation angles from inside Earth, what we call hell, at the molten iron core, they've got no evidence for, because they'll need a glow measurement for that. And then taking elevation angles to the luminaries outside of the now people explain this, not anti-flat earthers, just people explaining how this is supposed to be done. And people watch these videos and illustrations and cartoons of a globe with somebody inside it on a horizontal plane measuring angles. Now, if at some point you don't think, well, how's that happening? Somebody isn't in the center of Earth measuring angles from the equatorial plane. But somehow people don't need cotton onto this. And then when we explain it, like you've just done, Nathan, and you mentioned that, somebody who's never come across this subject will think, what the hell is he talking about?
Well, maybe not, because when Kent started breaking it down to us, right, and we started viewing these illustrations that he put up, then it clicked, you know? I mean, the penny dropped. Now, I don't understand why it's not dropping for certain people. Now, the way you just said it, One Deck, if people are looking at that picture and they're hearing what Nathan's saying, then the penny should freaking drop. That everything is being done on the surface.
Yeah, you could always use an example, Neil. You could say, if me and you was to travel to Missouri, here's the elevation profile on Google Maps, and it's all flat.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, but even the raw data from the plane to Missouri will show you flying above a horizontal plane, Neil.
Sure, but there's still going to be complex things like described by One Deck earlier, with you inside this ball on screen now, describing the angles with Earth as a glorified protractor. It only works from in the ball, with you in the hell molten iron core position, describing the angle through the ball that you're later going to scribble and colour in as a map to describe a latitude that's measured off a flat plane, in this case the equatorial plane, in hell, in a ball. Because that's the only way it can function, because you fundamentally require a flat planar measurement for the angle. You know, it's a bit like measuring Earth flat in Antarctica for 24 hours. You know, for example, Dave McKeegan. I keep forgetting. But for the fact that Dave McKeegan's a complete idiot and doesn't know how to use his own equipment, he would have, past tense, measured Earth flat for 24 hours in Antarctica. With respect to the equatorial plane? Equatorial plane? What, like a flat plane? Yeah, he's measuring the surface level. It's part of the angle. Now, he didn't quite cope with the full 24 hours of the sun rotating, but our globe-believing opponents want us to focus on why did the sun do that? I don't know. But we measure Earth flat. You measure Earth flat. We measure Earth flat. Earth is measured flat. Once I prove that, I have no need to explain why the sun's up in Antarctica for 24 hours. Measured. Well, other than Dave, who couldn't cope with his own equipment. You're measuring it flat regardless. Even in a limited capacity that Dave could cope with, he still measured Earth flat with elevation angles. So who cares? Earth is measured flat. Simple.
So if you was to remove that top part, just remove that half a sphere, this is the surface that we're talking about. We're not in the center of hell. We're on the surface of Earth. That's how we get around. That's how we measure things. That's how we mapped our world. Am I correct?
Yeah, but you can describe the angles that you see with a parallel sky measured from a parallel plane as angles, as a star that starts at your zenith moves towards the horizon, as a sake of example. This is an angle at 45 degrees. Now, if it was at your zenith, it would be at 90 degrees to your position. That's, say, straight up, or like on screen now at 45 degrees. And if it was at the horizon here, then it's at 1 degree, let's just say, or 180 or 179 degrees over here, right? Well, that's a protractor measured off the surface level. Well, then you can create what we just saw seconds ago from that description of angle measurement you see when measuring the angles off a flat Earth to the stars. Now, there's no getting away from this, yeah? And you'll end up being someone like Simon Dan, quote, "We don't only measure Earth flat," end quote, Simon Dan. Why would he have to make such a disclaimer? Well, because he's measured Earth flat 1,000 times from surface level to the sun. So you, Dan, measure Earth flat for your elevation angle. Now, that's not in dispute. These are just facts. This is how Dan and his 1,000 participating audience members measured Earth. Now, you can say, nah, I didn't measure it that way. Okay, so Simon Dan doesn't have any measurements. He didn't get any elevation angles. So you're going to kick all of your own measurements out the window. Okay, you haven't got any measurements then. Oh, what? Dan did measure Earth 1,000 times with elevation angles. Yeah, then he measured Earth flat 1,000 times. You either accept that you're measuring Earth flat for your measurement, because that's the only way Earth can be measured, or you don't.
That's it. It's always measured flat. I mean, the thing is, they measure it flat and then do some mathematics to turn it into a globe. It's the mathematics, which is the globe, the calculation after the measurement. The raw measurement is a flat Earth elevation angle from surface level all the time. They need it, we need it. That's what's happening in this world. Sorry, not in the world. I'm not in the world. I'm not in a ball on a horizontal plane called the equatorial plane. But you know what I mean. That's how we deal with it.
I'm just changing the title of the show to "The Globe is Measured Flat."
Wait a second, that's my line.
Yeah, the Greeks all knew that. They measured angles. Hang on a minute. They measured angles using sticks and shadows. I mean, the globe must be flat for horizontal shadows. And that guy, what was he called? Alberuni. He measured the Earth was flat because he measured the height of a mountain like that. And you know, when I was a sailor navigating the sea, the surface of the ocean appeared very flat to me. Triangulation on the surface of Earth, all achievable without one single use of a curve.
Yeah, the globe is measured flat, and the Greeks all knew that. Beautiful.
Oh boy, I said that months ago, and you were like, no. I'm glad that you have come around, Nathan. The globe is measured flat.
No, it's oxymoronic, but it's poetic, isn't it? It is an oxymoron to say that, and the title is an oxymoron, but it doesn't matter. Their globe requires flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements. Now, you can say, well, they're curved, but then they're not an angle.
Oh, dear.
Like I said last week, Nathan, I was talking to a baller and got into the elevation angle, celestial navigation, defining what an elevation angle is, back and forth. You know the script. And in the end, the baller said to me, well, you can obtain an elevation angle from a curved surface as long as it's only slightly curved.
No, you can't.
I mean, this is where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, they can say that. You can say that, but that axiomatically defies what an elevation angle is. If you say, well, it's coming off a tangent plane, well, then it's not elevation. Elevation's from the surface. You're trying to find a ground position. If it's out in space on a tangent plane when you've measured from a ball, you're not measuring from a ball. You're measuring from the surface. So drawing a line to a point and calling it tangential isn't measuring from the surface. Ergo, the angle measurement must be with respect to the surface. Not out in space, not on a tangent plane, not to a ball, but from Earth's surface. Now, this diagram on screen alludes to having a curve, but it doesn't change that the angle depicted is an angle. That's defined. Two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Now, if you apologise and go, this little section's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. So this little section here with 1,800 nautical miles is flat. Okay, yeah, it must be, or it won't be an angle. It's just that simple. You can't have 60 degrees meet a ground position 1,800 nautical miles away unless it's flat. Now, you can say, well, it's just a little bit curved. Then it's not an angle. That's your hard place, denying that you're measuring an angle, because it isn't an angle if it's curved. But what we do actually have is, according to this diagram, an angle. How do I know? Well, it's got the word 60 and then a little degree symbol after it. So there's no ambiguity about what it is and how it's measured and what it's achieving with a ground position.
That was on that picture there, that was one of the reasons I coined the phrase tangent mirror, because this is what, you are using the horizon when you're using the marine sextant, and the horizon is where the surface of Earth and the sky appear to meet. And you use that horizon to establish horizontal, and you'll have 2 points on that horizontal: observer's position and the GP position. Yeah, along the surface of Earth's sea level. They go on about the tangent line. We're using it. I said, no, it's called a horizon mirror, not a tangent mirror.
Indeedy weedy. Like this diagram on screen. You can pretend that you've got a globe Earth right angle, but you haven't. For it to be 90 degrees to the zenith at the ground position, the line between you and the ground position along the ground is an elevation angle from the surface. That's what elevation means. It has to be straight, level, flat. That's how Earth is measured. The diagrams that are flashing by on screen, they're not my diagrams. They've come from celestial navigation books, supplied by 10th Man when 10th Man exposed this entire shebango to the wider flat Earth community many years ago on all those pre-shows, when he spent thousands of dollars on books about celestial navigation and exposed exactly how Earth was measured flat with them.
So wait, 10th Man came out with that argument? Oh, okay.
Well, there's no disputing that. He spent hours, if not days, combined, going through it with us in the pre-show, Neil.
Yeah. I heard somebody in Missouri came out with that. Good to know the truth, though.
Well, liars will be liars. What can you say?
But at the end of the day, like we've just said, the Greeks knew the globe was flat. Now, I say that because that's where that poem originated from. Because when I was getting into this and looking into things, I was thinking, well, how was the Earth, how was the globe measured? And then you get the story of Eratosthenes, and then you read it and you think, well, it's obviously been done. He measured them angles, and he's got the distance between the GP and the shadow and the angle, and he's worked it all out, and that's the circumference of the Earth. And you skip over what's actually being done. The guy's on the surface of Earth measuring angles, and he knows the distance between 2 points. Then he does some mathematics and turns them measurements into a circumference of Earth.
A flat
that's
circumference.
What happened. And that's
flat circumference.
So that's why I wrote the poem.
The derived radial value that eventually gets converted to sphericity is flat in the first instance. If you're going to call it a radius, it's a flat radius. Like these areas of equal elevation on screen, you can only derive a radial value flat if you're utilising elevation angles to do it with. Sticks and shadows is no different.
Right.
What was your poem?
No, the globe is flat. That's
the one we just read.
Where,
yes.
That's where. Yeah, that's where it originated from. Because, the globe is flat. You look at how the globe was measured, and it's measured flat. That's the conclusion I came to in the end.
Well, we've been saying this for a while.
And if you...
No, go ahead.
Sorry, mate. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, we've been saying for a while that is the game, and all Flat Earth really is a game. A game where our opponents attempt to, as one deck puts it, whistle past the Flat Earth prerequisite angle measurements in this instance. Whistle past the angles, because the angles require Earth be flat to be measured. But if we can use those angles measured off a flat plane and only talk about the conversion to sphericity, then we don't have to focus on how Earth is measured flat in the first instance. Now, I was told in the pre-show that people are getting annoyed with me that I don't whistle past the Flat Earth prerequisite measurements of surface level to argue about how the ball can be used if we ignore the Flat Earth measurements. Apparently, it's annoying to people who like to argue about how a horizontal distance measurement, that's a Flat Earth prerequisite, and height off surface level, it's another Flat Earth prerequisite, would infer that there's a distance to a geometric horizon below the surface level. Now, if I can just hold my tongue and ignore how flat Earth must be measured to make the assertion that there's a distance to geometric horizon, then the argument can continue a little bit longer. And I'm cutting it off at its knees, and that's irritating, because it ends immediately when you understand that Earth must be measured flat to make the argument. Therefore, there isn't an argument. There's just the flat Earth measurement. At that point, there's no argument to have. Earth's measured flat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do what you want with it after that. Measure it flat, do what the hell you want after that. We don't care.
Yeah, believe you're on a
Measured it
ball with
flat.
the flat Earth measurement if you choose to. That's fine by us. Do what you like.
Yeah, once they start talking about angles and elevation angles, I mean, it's game over. But yeah, people feel that that's too quick, you know?
Too quick? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, you
ended it
prove.
too
So it's
quick.
gone from you guys believe you're on a flat Earth, prove it. Now it's gone from that to you prove we're on a flat Earth too quickly. What? Are you having me on? Is this seriously a criticism of me that I'm proving it too quickly? You having me on, Neil?
No, that's we end the argument. It's too quick. I mean, Earth is measured flat. I mean, it's too quick. What do you mean? It's got to be more to it than that.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. Right, I'll put out something that, for those people that think it's just too quick when I point out Earth's measured flat. Don't use the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angles, horizontal distance measurements, perpendicular height measurements, and then it'll last a bit longer. The problem is that our opponents use flat Earth measurements immediately. So what, should I not point it out when they're using it? Just stop using our stuff, and the argument can carry on a bit longer. But the minute you use a flat Earth prerequisite, I will point it out and end the argument immediately. That's just how it is. Don't use our stuff. Don't use flat Earth measurements. You can't. That's the point. They can only measure Earth flat. That's how Earth is measured.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'm glad you bounced back with that. That's what I wanted. It's impossible. So no matter what, it's going to be ended quickly because they keep using it right in the beginning.
Yeah, stop using it straight away. Just hold off using flat Earth measurements. If you're a baller, just take your time. What's that? You can only start all discussions with a flat Earth measurement? Yeah, we know. Earth's flat. It's measured that way. We checked. You checked. You need it to be that way. We need it to be that way. It is that way. That's how it's measured. It was measured flat. Is measured flat. Will always be measured flat. That's why they're using it.
Well, you know, they only have 95% of the world believing it's a sphere. So you should try to convolute it as much as possible. I mean, you wouldn't want it to be over that fast, would you?
I don't care.
Be concise.
If people want to believe they're on a ball based on flat Earth measurements, they can. I'm not stopping you, right? If you want to measure Earth flat and go, because I've measured Earth flat, like Simon Dan, I've quoted him once, I'll quote him again. We don't only measure Earth flat. Okay, start with the measurements that aren't flat rather than going out and measuring Earth flat 1,000 times. And then the argument won't immediately be ended by me when I go, yeah, but you have only measured Earth flat 1,000 times. So what do you want me to do? Ignore that you measured Earth flat 1,000 times? Whistle past you? Flat Earth prerequisite? No, I can't do that, I'm afraid. I'll just point out that you measured Earth flat 1,000 times. And when you don't provide a globe measurement, because there aren't any, they all require Earth be measured flat, I'll just disagree with your statement that you don't only measure Earth flat. No, Dan only measured Earth flat.
It's like when they used to, the celestial navigation, elevation angle at sea level. Skip past that and let's talk about dip correction, height of eye correction. That's what they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the sea level horizontal distance with 2 points across it, which could be 5,400 miles between the two horizontal points on that radius. They wanted to talk about dip correction.
Well, the correction from eye level to surface level, or
Correct.
Surface level to eye level, that correction?
Yes, the parallel eye level and surface level dip, that's depression angle. You need a flat Earth for that too. Everything
There's no way out
requires...
of it, really, is there?
Sorry, go ahead, one day.
Saying there's no way out of it.
Well, it's because the Earth is actually flat, and it wouldn't be needing conversion to ball. Like, have a sign conversion. Why are you converting from these flat measurements to ball? If it's ball-shaped, just measure it ball-shaped. Don't convert from flat measurements and say, hey, look, I have a sign. Well, that's a conversion from flat to ball.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're talking about a globe, you're talking about a mathematical calculation. If you're talking about the measurements, then you're talking about measurements.
And they're flat.
Which I've got those. Yeah, that's it.
There never was an argument. Like I say, the whole game is creating the impression that there's an argument. The idea that there's an argument. And the only way that works is twofold. One, make flat earthers out to be complete idiots by giving them garbage to argue about, making them familiar with mud flood and 9/11 truth and Sandy Hook, so they talk about that, so you can take that apart. Not the flat earth prerequisite elevation, angle, measurement, surface level, perpendicularity, parallel eye level, sea level, all of these things that we utilise on a daily basis when measuring earth. So long as everybody in the so-called debate ignores all of the flat earth prerequisite measurements of earth, you can go straight to the calculations and argue about how the calculations function, how far we should see based on the calculations, and ignore that the distance for how far we'll see will be linear and horizontal. Just as long as nobody mentions that, there can be a perception of a debate. There isn't one. Earth's measured flat.
And then you used to get comments like, sorry Neil, you used to get comments like, well, celestial navigation's got nothing to do with the surface of the Earth.
Navigation of the surface of Earth when you might die at sea has got nothing to do with the surface of Earth, because the surface of Earth, I believe, is ball-shaped. Therefore, this is irrelevant.
Well, you know what else other people are doing? I've just come aware of that. In 24/7, they're putting a list together and they're weeding out all the bad flat Earth arguments. I think that's a pretty cool thing to do if that's what they're doing. Get rid of all the trash.
Well, bad flat Earth arguments are arguments that aren't about flat Earth. So, for example, we covered a guy the other day, some fat guy, who was talking about a flat earther who's talking about cracks in rocks. Now, both of them use flat Earth prerequisites in the form of up and perpendicular. 90 degrees for the cracks. Well, that's a flat Earth prerequisite measurement if you're going to describe it with respect to the surface and the rocks cracking. Now, his explanation for varnish by comparison was utter garbage, and definitely didn't go through the scientific method, making his claim projection when he suggested that his opponent on the flat Earth side was a pseudoscientist. Now, the flat earther didn't actually claim any science, so that's an incorrect assertion and pure projection, because he hadn't put his claim in comparative terms to varnish through the scientific method. But both of them are using flat Earth prerequisites. Nobody's pointing that out. The argument's about how rocks crack. That isn't an argument about a flat Earth. That's a causal influential argument that hasn't been through the scientific method. Sod all to do with Earth beyond the fact that there are rocks on Earth in terms of its flatness. But the descriptions used are requiring a flat Earth for the descriptions of perpendicularity. So you need a flat Earth for the description in mathematics. You're not asserting causal influence because you haven't put it through the scientific method to acquire empiricism, if I could say it. So what do you have? You have the impression that this is a flat Earth argument when talking about melting buildings and melting bricks and rocks cracking and people cutting them. That's sod all to do with flat Earth. That's the game, isn't it? Give this man who says he's a flat earther some nonsense garbage to talk about that has sod all to do with how Earth is measured, and then we can ridicule him for talking about it when he doesn't really know, when I can compare the rocks to varnish.
Well, it's funny because on number 4, it says solar/Polaris elevation angles prove flat Earth. They got that listed as a bad flat Earth argument.
Right, this is on screen. If this light was Polaris, you measure it for latitude with an angle with respect to surface level. It's an elevation. Again, I've covered this already. Surface is what elevation means. From the surface, that's what elevation is. Angle, 2 straight lines. Bad argument. Oh, it sounds like we've got shill claim to be flat earthers that are actually ballers that need to get rid of our best arguments. It won't make any difference in terms of the horizontal linear distance that you're trying to acquire or the latitude grid that is acquired after these measurements. Those are facts of life used daily in navigation. So them saying it's a bad argument, it's not an argument, it's a measurement. They want to make it into an argument and say it's bad. That sounds very baller, but it isn't. It's not an argument, it's just a measurement. Like Dan made, like Dave McKeegan made in Antarctica for 24 hours. I'm going to have to stop doing that. But for the fact that Dave's a complete idiot and couldn't cope with his own tripod, he would have measured this angle to the sun for 24 hours, an elevation angle that is being decried when with Polaris. That forms the latitude grid when measuring off surface level. So you can deny it all you like as being a crap argument. It's not an argument. It's a flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurement.
So it's a measurement. Thank you, Nathan. The other one they got here is 69 miles per degree fallacy.
60, that's the description of the latitude system. As you back away from Polaris, with it dropping towards the horizon, it drops 1 degree, and you can call that an arbitrary distance that is made up by a man and ascribe it a value. Now, you can call it statute, you can call it nautical, but in statute terms, 69's not true? Okay, so this grid around your ball isn't true then. Back to the rock and the hard place. So you don't like the latitude grid wrapped around your glorified globe protractor? Okay, kick it to the curb then. I don't care. What's that? You want to keep the latitude grid wrapped around your ball like a giant protractor? Well, then you'll need to measure Earth flat for the 1 degree for every 69 statute miles. Because that's 1 degree of elevation of Polaris dropping towards the horizon for this arbitrary value ascribed by way of measuring it flat off surface level. That's not an argument. That's this grid that the ballers require for them to pretend that they're in hell. Now, like I say, you can pretend that you don't have it. You can pretend it's an argument. It's not. It's a measurement. The conversion creates part of the ball that they need this measurement off a flat surface level to acquire. I don't care if they call it a bad argument. We have latitude. It is used. You do watch Polaris drop every 69 statute miles towards the horizon as you back away from it. It forms something called the latitude system. It's fundamental to a ball belief. Don't have to like it.
You're going to love this one, Nathan. I know what. Pitch data from flight and
who's saying they're bad arguments?
Probably ballers masquerading as flatties.
Hold on.
But listen, just a minute. Let me go to that 69 thing. What? Just change the 69 to 77.
Just give it a different value and different scale and call it.
Yeah, just give it
one deck values.
1 deck mile after you've measured an elevation angle at sea level. Solved.
And say that the 1 degree along the surface translates to 77 1 decks.
Yeah, you can say what you want and do what you want after you've measured the angle using sea level.
Yeah.
I got the argument formulation so we can hear it to hear why it's a bad argument.
Is it just them saying it's a bad argument, or do they actually qualify why?
Yeah, it's just I'm just reading a list. Like the next one says, pitch data from flight N773UA proves flat Earth.
Well, any flight data proves flat Earth. Flights are in straight and level flight, measured off sea level. So what's the argument? What's wrong with it other than nothing? Because you're just measuring Earth flat off sea level?
Yeah, see, that's not an argument either. That's just raw data.
Yeah, it's just measurements. Correct.
The flight of a plane, any flight, right?
But you can just say
that's bad.
Saying that's a bad argument isn't explaining why it's a bad argument. That's John's point. What about it isn't good? I say we measure Earth flat from sea level with the altitude, pitch up with respect to horizontal when in straight and level flight, measured off sea level. Those are all statements of absolute fact. Nobody can dispute them.
Mm.
How is that
I
an
agree.
argument?
It's
Not an argument, no. Not arguing that they must be in straight and level. No, they are in straight and level flight. Like when the flight controller says, ascend to flight level X. That's not me making that up. That's just how it is.
Oh, I get it. I get it. If it doesn't invite an argument, it's a bad argument.
That makes sense. Now that I can get behind. What they're saying is, when we point out Earth is measured flat, there isn't an argument, therefore bad. I see. You want to have arguments. Okay. Well, Earth's measured flat regardless of if you argue and ignore how flat you're measuring Earth in the arguments you have, but I just stop when we measure Earth flat. Like Simon Dan measuring Earth flat. Quote, we don't only measure Earth flat. Yeah, but he measures Earth flat 1,000 times, doesn't he? So what, should I ignore that? Because it's not a good argument. No, Dan measuring Earth flat 1,000 times isn't a good argument. It's just in measuring Earth flat 1,000 times and then disclaiming that we don't only measure Earth flat. No, you do. You only measured Earth flat, Dan. So what, is that an argument? No, it's just Dan only measuring Earth flat. Simple as.
So I pretty much basically answered him by saying, nah, over here, we just say Earth is measured flat because it is. So he says, now you reaffirm your echo chamber by hand waving those points. So what Nathan did was not hand wave. He just pointed out that they're not arguments. They're just facts of the matter.
Yeah. Tell me they're not in straight and level flight. Oh, you want to have an argument about straight and level? Why? Do you think that's disputable? What about sea level? You don't like sea level. You want to tell me that sea level's not level because in the filing cabinet it says sea level's actually curved. No, it won't be parallel anymore. So your claim to be argument defies the axiomatic principles of the measurements that I am not appealing to as an argument. They're statements of absolute fact. Earth's measured flat. No getting away from it. Don't have to like it. It does end your need to have an argument immediately. Now, you can moan at me all you like, because for many years I've been told, why aren't you proving Earth's flat? And the second I do, you go, why aren't you having an argument? Because I don't need to. I've proved it's flat with measurements. That's the end of the discussion. There's no argument to have.
Yeah, that's a troubling thing for years, right? There was no, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Then you get the proof, and both flat earthers and ballers are saying, what are you saying? It's measured flat. You're ending the argument too quick. And you can't please anybody these days.
Yeah, you can please some of the people some of the time. You can't please all of the people all of the time. Meanwhile, Earth's still measured flat for everyone always and without exception.
Just saying to Neil, is he two lists, Neil? Is he a bad flat Earth arguments and good flat Earth arguments? Have you got one of the good list by any chance?
Did the same group of good point? Did the same group of people say, well, you shouldn't be talking about pitch data because there's no argument, therefore bad argument? Because a good argument would be one you argue about. Did they provide good arguments? And I'm almost willing to bet £1 right away that if there is any suggestions of quote-unquote good arguments, like when ballers assert that they've got a globe proof, it will ultimately start with a flat Earth prerequisite measurement. Let's see if I'm right. Or they don't provide any.
No, they don't provide any because this is under the guise that they're weeding out all the bad flat Earth arguments.
See. So their only ambition is to remove flat Earth prerequisite descriptions of measurements of surface level and call them bad arguments. I see. This sounds like it's only serving one individual or one type of individual. Ballers who want to have an argument. Ideally, ignoring that they need to measure Earth flat because that would end the argument, therefore bad argument. Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, it is a bad argument to suggest that flat Earth measurements can be argued about. They can't. And now that's simultaneously what I'm being moaned about, but that makes me smile from ear to ear. Oh, like bless.
You're like 23. Elevation profile diagrams as flat Earth proof. Bad argument.
Sorry, elevation profiles with horizontal linear distances. They're just measurements. So in Google Earth Pro, that's what's used by people when they're building stuff. They reference Google Earth Pro with elevation profiles to find out how high or low they are with respect to sea level. So what, that's not good? Okay, toss it out then. Don't use it for building things. I don't care.
It's how all maps are mapped.
Exactly. Don't use the maps then. Oh, well, we want to use the maps and the horizontal distances and the horizontal scales. We just don't think that's a good argument. No, it isn't. It's not an argument. It's just how Earth gets measured, flat, for everyone always and without exception. So, no, you could say that's a bad argument, but there isn't an argument. A lot of the people watching don't appreciate this yet. There never was an argument. The game was making it seem like there's an argument. And saying we're going to weed out the good and bad arguments is playing into that scenario where there's an argument to have and there's good ones and bad ones. There wasn't ever an argument. There isn't an argument. Earth is only measured flat.
That's correct. You want to hear another one?
Just shout out to Michael Kahn for joining as a penguin. Good.
What's up, Michael? Refraction alters apparent horizon.
Apparent horizon. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was just going to say it again, I missed it.
Refraction alters apparent horizon.
A horizon
That is a bad argument. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll agree with that. But where's the measurements of anything? Where's the descriptions of anything? What does it prove if you say refraction and horizon in the same sentence? Okay, what does that prove?
I don't know. They just give me a list. There's one that says, the globe model claims Kansas is horizontal.
No, that's defying the principle of what a globe is. You don't have horizontal on a globe.
There is no globe model either, so I would say that's a bad argument.
This is definitely a bad one. Number 29. Debunk the globe by pouring water on a ball. I'll agree with that. That is retarded.
Well, that's Dell.
Is it?
So they're saying Dell's retarded. Okay. I mean, go take it up with Dell. Nobody here's done that. In terms of what water does when you utilise its principles that are useful, it's the fact that it finds and maintains level. That's what it's useful for. In building things. But yeah, okay, I'm starting to warm up to whoever's done this. These are crap arguments.
Here's one. AE map surface radius debunks globe volume radius.
What?
The AE map surface radius debunks globe volume radius.
I don't even know what that means. The map is not the terrain, that's a reification fallacy. Meanwhile, the radius that's measured for the latitude system requires a flat planar surface be measured. So you need to measure Earth flat to develop these reified maps and models. But the map is not the terrain.
That's correct.
To create the map, you still need to survey the terrain so that you can use things like rise over run and sea level as a measured average to describe how high or low the land is with respect to that said average, horizontally, so that you can apply a scale to a flat map and give you horizontal distance measurements. That's why all maps are flat.
I mean, just going, if I was going to write a list just with two good flat Earth arguments, we'll say, one would be Eratosthenes and two would be Al-Biruni.
If you want hostile witnesses, you can utilise those as flat Earth prerequisites in terms of what they measure, though. If you want to utilise Al-Biruni or Eratosthenes as globe Earth arguments, then, like I would suggest at the beginning of this show and have suggested, when someone puts that to me, I point out that Al-Biruni measures Earth flat for the height of the mountain, and he needs and requires axiomatically parallel surface level and eye level. So he requires Earth to be flat. Same goes for Eratosthenes. If you're going to measure an elevation angle measurement with shadows or a well, then you need the axioms to hold true for that to be called a measurement. Again, you can kick it to the curb. I don't care. If you want to call it an argument, again, I don't care. You can ignore the measurements. Suggest that you argue about the calculations after the fact. But it won't alter what is actually being measured, will it?
Nope.
Nope.
So Earth measured flat. Again, feel free to moan at me that I'm ending the argument that there isn't when I point out that Earth got measured flat, though, didn't it? So who cares? You want me to argue and ignore that we're measuring Earth flat? You want me to accept that you use flat Earth measurement? No, I'm not going to do that. Just point out that it's measured flat by you as well. You need it to be flat. That's how it's measured for you to believe in a ball.
Number 11 says, all maps are flat. Proves flat Earth.
No,
Bad
all
argument.
maps are flat, and they're created by measuring the surface. People use maps in a practical way, and the distance on them is horizontal and linear. Those are facts. Now, again, I don't mind if you don't like maps and don't want to use maps. That's fine. No worries. What about GPS? You've got a sat-nav. That's Cartesian. It's flat. You don't like that? Well, then don't use GPS. I don't care. Does it alter how it functions? No, it doesn't. You're going to need a flat plane for that system to function, and it does function. You do use it. You can deny it. I don't care. Kick it out. Chuck your sat-nav out the car window, scrumple up your map and say, no! Okay. Good for you. Well done. The maps are still referencing the terrain that's been measured, though, aren't they? With rise over run being the measurement for the altitudes and depressions in the land with respect to the surface level, that's sea level, measured as an average. Those are facts of Earth measurement. It's flat. You don't have to like it. Chuck your map away then. I don't care.
You can throw it away, join the Amish, and they'll still use a flat plane.
Yeah. Like I say, it doesn't matter to me that you don't like these arguments because they're not arguments. Well, then don't use them. But we'll still use maps. They'll still be flat. Saying it's a flat Earth proof. No. Earth is measured flat for the map. You don't have to like it. I'm not suggesting that's an argument. That's a statement of absolute fact. It seems like all the statements of fact that they don't like, they've bundled into a list and called arguments to say they don't like them. Oh, right, okay. So what, we're going to all stop using maps because you don't like how flat Earth is? Okay, well, you can do that if you like. Good for you. Well done.
What number is this? Number 18. Flat horizon at 120,000 feet. Bad argument.
I mean, again, that's not an argument. That's a statement of fact in terms of what a horizon is.
Captain Cook's 60,000 mile voyage proves a map. I'll agree with that. Bad argument.
Does it? I don't know. Was he trying to? Was that, sorry, am I missing something? Was Cook trying to validate the AE map?
Who's next? Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd trying to validate the AE map? Were any of these people trying to validate a map? Did Cook travel in a direction? Would he have used maps and mapping to move around?
Of course.
Would he use a compass?
I would hope so.
A sextant.
A sextant? Yeah, that's where I was going next. So he's using tools that measure Earth flat and describe Earth as flat and give horizontal directionality. So what, you want to deny it because he's not validating azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection? No, probably wasn't. But he did definitely navigate flat though, didn't he? He had to. There's no other way to describe north, south, east and west. Now you can, like on this diagram here, describe those directions on a flat extended celestial plane and then call the globe a giant protractor wrapped around your position at the centre of it and suggest that the sky you've measured for the system to create the map to call the globe wrapped around you from the centre of hell functions. But you're just using a flat plane to create a system to wrap around you and call a map that you now suggest explains the world. You still need to measure Earth flat to achieve it. North, south, east and west will still be flat. And that's the only way they're ever described, exactly as they are described in all the diagrams ever. You can't describe north, south, east and west any other way. Go and buy a compass.
Yes, directionality. Here's one. You can zoom boats back in.
You can. So what's that got to do with anything? What the hell? You can.
Bad argument, flat earther.
It's not an argument. That's a statement of fact. You can zoom boats back in. Sorry, yes, that's true. And... But maybe if we're describing the Rayleigh criterion and diffraction limits, then you'll quote conspiracy cats, now culture cats. I'll give you a flat earth for that. End quote. Culture cats, formerly conspiracy cats. Why? Well, he's describing the diffraction limit. With perspective, you'll need a flat earth for that. I'll give you a flat earth for that. End quote, cats. Yeah, you need to measure earth flat for it, don't you? For the diffraction limit, calculable and describable when you're describing how lenses can make boats come back if you zoom in on them. Yeah, that's a diffraction limit overcome. The mathematics are flat. Hence cats saying, I'll give you a flat earth for it, because there's no other way of doing it. And the moment you do appeal to that so-called argument, no, it's just a description of perspective measurement with a diffraction limit. I'll give you a flat earth for that. Yeah, because it doesn't come into an argument. You just require Earth to be flat to describe it, like cats required it to be flat just before he ran away.
Yeah, he had to give it to us. He had no choice. Here's one you might like. I never heard this before. Sky color from electrical fields and noble gases.
Number one, I'm colourblind. Number two, I've never made that position a flat Earth prerequisite because I don't know what the hell it even means. And number three, if that's being put as an argument for a flat Earth, then I will agree. Suggesting that the colour of the sky is done through noble gases might or might not be true. I don't know. I've not validated it through the scientific method, but does that prove a flat Earth? No. But you don't need to. It's measured flat. It's not an argument that you would put forth because you don't need to be having these arguments. If you are, you're a numpty. It's a bit like discussing 9/11 truth and vaccines. Those sorts of things are what flat earthers are given to make them seem like idiots, rather than pointing out how Earth is measured. Obviously, if you do just point out Earth's measured flat, you might get moaned at that you're not having an argument. No, there isn't one. There never was.
Number 21, crepuscular rays proving local sun.
I don't know how far the sun is. It's one of the housekeeping questions. What I do know is that we measure Earth flat with the sun. Like Simon Dan did. I'll give you a little quote. We don't only measure Earth flat, Simon Dan. Well, why would he say such a thing? Because he's measuring the sun with an elevation angle. Elevation means off the surface, angle means two straight lines. He's measuring the surface level. It's part of the measurement. So 1,000 times over, Simon Dan only measured Earth flat. What's that? You don't know how far away the sun is? Okay. We still measure it flat, though, don't we? Simon Dan did it 1,000 times and then had to disclaim about how he doesn't only measure Earth flat. Well, then don't only measure Earth flat, Dan.
You're like this one, Nathan. Number 9. You know, 9 is an
Number
important
9?
number, Brian. Vatican invented the globe.
Who what?
The Vatican invented the globe. That's the Roman Catholic Church.
What's that got to do with a bad flat Earth argument?
Whether or not there were Jesuit priests that came up with the Copernican model. Copernicus. Who cares? Who cares? It's literally irrelevant. Would it matter if they were Muslim? Who cares? I would imagine Al-Biruni was a Muslim. So does that mean that it's relevant?
No. Number 6, NASA government documents admit flat Earth.
Who cares? They describe heights off surface level when they raise an altitude in their little rockets that they're pretending to go into a sky vacuum. They need a flat Earth measurement when they describe the heights. So what, NASA documents say Earth's flat? Well, okay, so when they describe a situation and scenario where a craft is flying over a flat and level plane, end quote, NASA, that doesn't prove Earth's flat. No, it doesn't. Like going to NTSB documents and saying gyros don't do what they do doesn't prove that gyros don't do what they do. It's just a document. But measurements are empirical if you're measuring them, and you can demonstrate that they axiomatically require Earth to be a flat surface when you make the measurement, because you rely on it. That's what proves Earth's flat, not NASA documents saying it's flat. That's like appealing to a hostile witness that you're trying to debunk. It's like, well, we say NASA are lying about going to the moon, but they also say that the moon rings like a bell if you hit something with it. You're like, so your hostile witness is good to suggest that the moon will ring like a bell? but also garbage when they say they go to outer space, a sky vacuum that violates the law of nature known as entropy. No, they're lying. They aren't going through a sky vacuum. We'd all be dead. We'd have no gas to breathe. Shout out to... Oh, got a problem with my stream. It's saying I've got no stream. Whirly whirl. Stream's health rate is declining. Lower bit rate. Oh, it's back. Got some live stream issues. I might round out this live stream in a second. What was your last one, Neil? That'll be the last one because I'm having stream issues.
Dielectric constant replaces gravitation. Sounds
like Witzit's garbage. Nonsense waffle about ether. We don't claim that. Who cares? It's, again, a feast of nonsense way of making flat earthers talk about stupidness, like mud floods and Tartaria and ether, all garbage that's designed to make you look like an idiot. So, I mean, again, I can only agree. Would you disagree that this claim to be argument that doesn't have anything to do with the flat earth makes flat earthers look stupid? Yeah, I'd say that. Therefore, crap argument. Fine.
Yeah.
Any more before I round out this stream while I've got a stream warning? Stream current bitrate 2208. That's pretty good.
Well, I noticed the guy that put this, he was part of the list, is in the Discord server. Why don't you speak up, Lotrect? Was that you? I don't know, because I'm just reading a list.
Got my lights on. I'm going to round out. Did you want to add something? Is it Lotrect? Clearly not. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and Cheapest panels, and of course to you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, as Michael Khan just did. Hit me up on PayPal and Patreon and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.